What's up, banana bunch? Bunch? Bunch?
Welcome to the Jungle Gyms podcast. Oh, what's up, Banana Bunch? You know what time it is. It's time for another episode of the Jungle Gyms podcast. I'm your host, Mark. I'm over here avoiding customers in the bakery because we're celebrating our guest's birthday on the show this week. Jason's awesome. But before we get into all that, first off, I need you to download the Jungle Gyms app, okay? We've got app-exclusive savings. You can view the Thanksgiving ad as early as this week, so you can plan ahead. There's all kinds of deals that Lou and the buyers here are running. Crazy prices. You're going to love it. I thought there was someone behind me. So many good prizes. You should really check that. Prices, rather. I might have a prize personally for you, but I don't know. Check that out. Follow us on Eventbrite. We've got all kinds of events coming out. I want to give a quick thanks to Paramount Pictures and Allied Marketing, who had us host a screening of Gladiator 2 this week. So everybody that came out, I hope you had a great time. So for this week on the episode, like I said, we're celebrating our guest's birthday. This is my pal, Jason Newton. Jason, he's known as Notorious. He's worked in radio for about the last 20 years. He's booked shows all over town. He's a great guy. He now works for the Oasis FM. It's a big station here in town. Hits some of those yacht rock vibes, which I always love. And they syndicate the Jungle Gyms podcast on Sundays, and they have for a long time. Jason's awesome. I thought it'd be really cool to get an insight into his life, and realistically, I thought it'd be great to try the Boston cream cake that they make here in the Jungle Gyms Bakery. All right, let's go into the studio and meet Jason. Well, welcome to the show, Jason Newton. What's up, Jason?
How are you, dude?
Dude, I'm good. Like we were joking. Well, I guess first off, the reason I've got this cake here is because you're about to celebrate a birthday.
I am.
By the time this airs, it'll be past.
Right.
You know.
Finally 21.
I know, dude. I'm so proud of you.
Right?
It's crazy. I've known you since we were one.
Don't mind the gray hairs.
You've got like that. It's like a aging thing. You're doing it to just look a little older. We love a silver fox.
Awesome. Thanks, dude.
Jason, we met forever ago. Well, maybe I'll tell the audience it easier this way.
Okay.
Right now, you know, I've talked about it some on the show, but we are syndicated on Sundays on the Oasis FM. Oh, you want to tell me a little bit more about Oasis?
The Oasis is a tri-state station. Our signal is huge. It goes all the way down to Louisville, all the way a little bit past Dayton. We're on 2 frequencies. In Kentucky, we're on 106.7. You can also get that in southern Cincinnati. But if you're in Cincinnati and you're near the Dayton area, we have a new frequency, 97.7. And this goes all the way past Dayton. Cool. It's the same station. You get all the same great music. And yeah, we're really growing, and it's fantastic. Honestly, it's one of the best stations I've ever worked at.
No kidding.
And I've been in this business for 25 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, first off, congratulations. Everyone's been really cool there. Obviously, you've been the coolest. Nothing personal to everyone else. But once I saw you, I'll never forget, like, one of the first times I got the email from you. I was like, I wonder if this is, well, let's see. And then I was just like, wait, is this like Notorious Jason Newton? And you were like, it is. I'm like, oh, it was just a nice.
I know, and I saw your picture on the email, and I was like, God, I feel like I know him. And I was like, nah, let's just keep professional and keep moving back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. And well, you know me, I rarely keep it professional now.
Either do I.
I think that's why we got along in the first place.
Yeah.
I was, flashing back to all the shows and things, Madison Theater, Blue Note, Mad Hatter, rest in peace.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Dude, you were responsible for so many good times in my youth, and now you're responsible for so many good times in my later youth.
Oh, thank you.
So thanks for that. Man, do you have any fond memories of those days booking shows or anything that pops out?
So many. God, so I've been booking since 2003, and I stopped full-time around 2014.
Okay.
So 11 years.
Yeah.
I've booked probably some great shows. Really was just being with the locals. I liked my birthday shows a lot.
Yes.
That I had.
Yes.
I would try to find like the top 4 to 7 best locals that I can find that I thought were great, and I would put them together and have a great birthday show at the Mad Hatter, and we would have 500 plus people come every year. It was amazing. Really just the people I got to meet, because I really didn't know a lot about local music, honestly, until I started working with my first radio station. And we get involved in local music, we see local bands, and you just start to realize like how much talent is in the tri-state area.
Sure.
that I had no idea about. And so you meet these people, and honestly, some of them became like my best friends.
I love that.
That I've had like for 20 plus years now.
It's kind of crazy to think about.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like a small town kind of person. And I just never, ever thought I would like indulge in something like this. But yeah, some of the shows, one off the top of my head, I did a Madison Theater show for a radio station. It's not here anymore, 97.3, the rock station.
Yeah.
And it was a Christmas show, and I had the Ting Tings play.
Okay.
And I don't know if you remember the Ting Tings.
I actually think I was at that show.
You might have. They had an English girl singer.
Right.
And I remember the first time I seen them was before I got into radio or anything, because they had been out for a while.
Mm-hmm.
They were on TRL. And I remember Carson Daly comes on their bus to talk to the girl, and she seems like kind of out of it. And so I booked this show, and I try to never talk to the artists like during the shows.
Sure.
But I'm watching Shiny Toy Guns play.
Yes. Okay.
And,
I was at this show. Okay. Now it's all coming together.
And the singer for the Ting Tings, I'm like side stage behind the curtain, and singer from the Ting Tings come over, and she's like sits next to me, and she's like, "Did you book the show?" And I'm like, "I'm bad accent, sorry." And I'm like, "Yeah, I did." She's like, "Oh, it's so great to meet you. And I just went to watch them play. I haven't seen them play." And I was like, "Oh, that's great." And then I'm sitting there, and I'm like, "Can I ask you a question? Some years ago, I saw TRL, and Carson came on your bus, and you seemed like a little blitz. Were you?" And she's like, "Oh my God, I just got done smoking a Blizzard. And I thought that they would smell it. And I was so nervous during that interview. I can't believe you noticed that." Yes,
That's so
it was
funny.
It was amazing.
And Carson Daly seems like he would rat you out.
Exactly. I completely agree with that.
Dude, it's crazy. Bringing up TRL is so funny because, well, and even mentioning just like how it was where we didn't really see the artist the way you do now,
Right.
where like I'm almost more, take someone like Chapel Roan, for example, right? I am more visually aware of her than I almost am sonically, if that makes
Right.
sense. I do enjoy her music, don't get me wrong, but like it was like a weird thing where I was like, why do I know what this lady looks like?
Right.
Why can't I tell you one of her songs? You know?
I'm jealous of music fans now.
Yeah.
Like especially younger music fans, because they have such an access to be able to touch their artists the way you and I didn't growing up, like through Instagram and
For sure.
online interviews, podcast interviews,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And it's like we would just see artists so far away to where we were just magazines or so like the beginning of websites or beginning of Facebook, stuff
yeah.
like that. But like nothing like now.
Right. It's like occasionally a TRL thing where you're like, if they hit that upper echelon of like, not even just pop music success, but just like pop success in general.
Right.
You're like, okay, now I know, oh, that's who Fred Durst is. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Regretting that one a little bit. I'm sorry, Fred, please come on the show. I would love to say cheer with you over and over again. And it comes up all the time. Well, you mentioned about the access to music. So I even think about things like trying to learn to play instruments and how it's not necessary. I don't know if it's worse. I love it. I'm like using an app right now to teach myself to play the piano. Slowly but surely. It's a great idea. And I think about how like in high school, I had a guy come to my house to teach me to play guitar. I'm like, that's such a weird thing, and having access to all that music is really interesting to me too, because, again, I think about when we were young, we had to go out and buy the CDs or and I guess vinyl's back, but like buy the physical media of it. You may have only enjoyed 2 songs off the whole album. Like that's like a weird lost art where you're like, remember when you used to hate songs?
Exactly.
Not in a
and
mean
now
way.
Now album downloads on YouTube. You can listen to an entire album and have it at your fingertips.
Do you ever wonder if people connect with it the same way now?
That's a great question. I was just thinking about that because recently Tyler, the Creator.
Yes.
I was
literally just listening to Chromacopia right before you came in. Yeah.
Tyler came out with his album on a Tuesday. And I love that because he's been talking in interviews about how, remember when music used to come out on Tuesdays?
Yes.
And
I've spent a lot of time at Best Buys on Tuesdays.
Right. It's a very small thing, though, that music comes out on Tuesday. It gives you, 3-4 days during the week to listen to the music on your own time, where you're going to school, work, whatever. It vibes with you like for a few days before you get to your weekend. In the last number of years, I think since 2016-ish maybe, music started coming out on Thursday night.
Yeah.
And I think music comes out on Thursday night. You get it on Friday. I feel like for the average listener, it makes music passive.
I love this.
To where like you get it on Friday and then boom, it's Friday. And so, you know, like you have your weekend going on, you're off work, you have more friends. So you really aren't have those few days to like let an album sit with you.
Absolutely.
And it carries you. And then by Monday, Tuesday, you could be on to something else very quickly.
Right.
If you're not like a enthusiast of music.
Sure.
Like you can let something pass you. But yeah, I would love if albums came out on Tuesday more. I think it lets you sit more with the music.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how like during the traditional work week we do kind of absorb it differently. Because
I
feel like I almost don't pay attention to music on the weekends.
Exactly.
Not that I don't listen to it, but you know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's
we have so many other things to do. But yeah. I've always felt like I wish we would go back to Tuesdays. I feel like it would help so many artists out so much more.
Absolutely. And because of that, that's one of the reasons I am happy vinyl is making a resurgence, even if I read some crazy number the other day that like 90% of the world's vinyl production is just Taylor Swift records. Like not joking.
I can believe that.
That's so crazy to me. And like, you know, for me, I'm trying to mostly buy, my record collection's not huge, but I joked when I started, I was like, okay, I have all of these classics from like the late 80s, early 90s when I was like a child taking either my mom's collection or then trying to slowly grow mine as I got into music.
Yeah.
And then, but now I'm like, okay, I'm only going to either get like independent artist or like a new artist that I like, right? Like Tyler Drops, of course, I got that test pressing, right?
Oh, yeah.
That kind of thing. So the collection's like small but mighty. The way I describe a lot of things about myself. And thinking about that, I often get to this thought where I'm like, I wonder if there's something, is it like an old thing where I go in and I'm like, when a new record comes out, I'm reading the lyrics, I'm looking at the liner notes, I'm doing all that stuff.
It's just you're enthusiast.
Yeah, and so it's like that weird thing where I almost feel like in some regards, the only drawback to the digital streaming is that because there's so much content now, I wonder if the next generation is more commonly passively listening, right? Because I don't know too many young people that I can be like, let's talk about this record in detail, where they're just like, yeah, I listened to it, it was good.
Exactly.
And that's cool. I'm glad they're still enjoying, but it is weird to be like, I remember
or
time.
They just want to talk about the artist's personal life.
Which is, yeah, and I'm like, not that that's bad necessarily, but I'm like, that's cool. How does it affect the album? That's the conversation I want to have. You know what I mean?
I agree with you completely.
You know, it's like I'm on it's not to keep going back to Tyler, but I'm like, let's talk about how his relationship with his mother positively affected the release of this record. I love it. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Well,
or did you see that thing with Jared Carmichael and him?
No, what happened?
Jared Carmichael had a special on, I believe, HBO.
Yeah.
Documenting his life.
Okay.
And he had like an interaction with Tyler.
No kidding. Was it good?
It was kind of like Jared Carmichael recently just came out publicly.
Okay. I remember this special coming out because I remember a lot of the news cycle about it.
He like confessed his love for Tyler.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And him and Tyler had this very cringy, perfect conversation on the show, and it's the best thing on the show.
Oh, that's actually awesome.
You'll love it. It's so funny and cringy, and it's like deep, and at the very pinnacle of it being deep, and you're like, oh, Tyler lets out a fart. and it's so Tyler.
And then just, the odd future titles come back up.
You exactly. Know what I mean?
Yeah. Loiter Squad, excuse me, I'm stupid.
It's the highlight of the show, though.
That honestly is hilarious. It's so on brand for him, too.
Yeah, it is.
That's so cool. Oh my God, that's so funny. Yeah, see, I've been like a little out of the loop. I took down a few of my social platforms where I was just like, let's take a little break and see what that's like for the holiday season. And after a few...
Well, since you're a TV star now, I saw you on Ultra Fiber commercials,
by
the way.
I love that so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It's great.
I'm cooking up one for the Thanksgiving run this week.
Oh, wow.
I got to figure that out.
Okay.
I do have a turkey. I'll spoil it here. I have a turkey onesie for it, though.
We can't wait.
Yeah, he's like, you say that now. And then I will profess my love for Tyler, but I'm going to get the fart out first.
Definitely. Good.
Listen, joke's on you, you know? Oh, my gosh. You know, on the music end, has there been anything that's been, like, really hitting hard for you lately, or anything you've been really into, or what you think will be the future?
The future, honestly, no.
I have no idea.
I listen to old music still.
Yeah.
I'm a ginormous Paramore fan.
Oh, baby, yes.
I'm such a huge Paramore fan. It's like I've booked over 1,000 shows.
Yeah.
I've been in radio since I've been 21 years old. So I feel like, I don't know, I'm desensitized to a lot of artists and shows. I don't want to go to any more shows for the rest of my life. The only time I will ever go to shows is if a loved one I'm with really wants to see someone, because I can get excitement out of them having fun at a show.
Absolutely.
But I've just seen it so many times. I've worked it. I don't ever want to be in a crowd.
Right.
Like I'm kind of like introverted that way.
Absolutely.
Or I never wanted to be in crowds, but thank God I started working in radio and TV and booking to where I could be behind stage, like kind of by myself, my entire
I love it.
existence through music, which has been great for me. But yeah, Paramore, I would go see Paramore again, just because they're such an amazing live show.
Yeah.
And then some old stuff, that's about it. Nothing really new. I still, there's still some local artists that I have a passion for that I really like seeing. Arlen McKinley.
Oh,
I don't know
of
if you
course.
ever heard
Yeah,
of.
absolutely.
I think he's
Unbelievably
I think he's
talented.
one of the best singers in the tri-state area. Like if you haven't heard of him, you should look him up. Amazing, Arlen
Yep.
McKinley. And besides that, I don't know.
That's cool.
Not a lot. Just listening to a lot of old stuff. Every now and then I'll catch a band or something that I think's cool.
I love when that happens. I think that's the main driver for me going to shows these days. It's either a combination. Well, so you mentioned Paramore. Wanted to see them forever, and we finally got to go last summer, so that was great.
Oh,
When
is
they
that
were
your
in
only
Columbus,
show?
It's the only time I've ever gotten to see them.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I've seen them 7 times.
I bet it was amazing too. And I was
See
like,
that?
it was one of those moments that I got there. I was like, oh, I'm kind of bummed out that this is the first time I finally got to see them.
They're
'Cause-
amazing live.
Yeah, incredible. Still,
It makes you, sometimes you can't go back and listen to the albums after
No.
you see them live. The albums are good, but
Yeah.
like the powerful of like their drum, their rhythm section is just
Exactly.
amazing.
And Haley's killing it.
Oh,
Always.
she's a
like
great
so
singer.
high energy. Yeah, exactly. She
Such
sounded
a
incredible. The
great
band sounded
singer.
great. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
watched her
was a good
tours
show.
on YouTube and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When they were here at Bunbury, I think it was like 2014-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And that was around the time I've fully just gotten off of air. I've been on air since 2003 to probably around 2012-ish, full
Okay.
time in the city.
Yeah.
And around 2014, Bunbury and Paramore was there. And I've been watching that tour on YouTube for a
Yeah.
while. So they had this great musical breakdown. And remember standing there and the musical breakdown's about to happen. And I love people in the city, don't get me wrong. But one guy comes up to me, he's like, "Oh my God, are you Notorious?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Dude, I've been listening to you for so long." And I was like, "Hey guy, I'm so sorry about this. I really think you're awesome. There's about to be a breakdown that I've been waiting to see this live. And if I could just like vibe out in this, thank you." And he's like, "Oh, no worries, dude." And so he stood there and
Hey, you got your moment?
yeah, it was
Hell yeah.
my best Paramore moment ever.
Dude, that's so cool.
They're so great.
I got, like obviously when they first came out, like when Riot first hit, and it was huge, everything, I got really into them and followed for a little while. And then, not that I fell off, but it just, it was like, whatever, the band changed a few times. And I got back into them again in 2020. I was gearing up a bunch of musical projects myself. And the one I really, 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 really wanted to do was a gender-swapped Paramore. And I wanted to be Haley, and then I was just going to have the whole band be all women. And I was like, this is great. I'll dye my hair orange, whatever. Like, I was 100% in. Started learning on tunes, and then it just, it was middle of COVID. So it was like, well, that's probably never going to happen.
Yeah.
But, yeah, one of those dreams. So then I finally got to see them. We went last year, and I was like, what a great... Again, I hate to be a dork about it, but I'm like, what a great show.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
I know. First time I ever seen them was when Riot was out, and they were opening for No Doubt.
Oh, my God. That would have been a crazy show.
I know, right? And my
Ugh.
girlfriend at the time she was a local artist too at the time.
cool.
She loved No Doubt, and I took her for a surprise. And Paramore was opening. I didn't know a lot about Paramore at the time.
Yeah.
I think I was actually kind of making fun of them a little bit before the show started.
Like any great love story.
Exactly. And then the show started. I'm watching. I'm just like, I've never seen a girl have such stage presence, and control the band the way she controls her band.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant to watch.
That's one of those things I think. I love hearing you say that, because one of my favorite things when I'm watching any band, especially as I've gotten into like all the weird instrumental stuff, and like I have like that deep jazz fusion side of me too,
Right.
where I'm just like, but again, you don't see it as often in like, in my opinion anyway, in like the popular music scene. So seeing their connection on stage was really impressive to me, where I'm like, oh, there's good musical communication going on here.
Right.
And a lot of those nonverbal things that I feel like,
The leadership of a front person.
yeah.
Hand signals.
Right. And like, you're like,
And-
oh, wait, they added an extra few bars here. I'm like, oh, and she's going to tell them when to come back in, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Brilliant.
I love that stuff.
I love the little integral stuff of like performing.
Yeah, it's so cool, and I think it's a music enthusiast thing. You know what I mean?
Completely.
Or if you play too, I think that comes in too.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things I always love to see, where you're just like,
I agree.
You all are so in the pocket and so together. You know, it transcends.
Honestly,
all of,
yeah.
You know?
Honestly, I got that from radio, really, like because radio is very integral, also, like being on air and like your
Timing.
pauses, your timing, your inflections. Like it makes the way you speak, it makes everything drop the right way for the audience to really take it in the way you want them to take it in.
I love it. Yeah, it's honestly, it's kind of the same kind of thing. You're the front person, you know. You're
Yeah.
like, here we go. I'm Haley today.
Yeah, yeah.
Ain't it fun? It is.
Right.
I feel like we should have some cake if you're up for that.
This is amazing. And what did you call it again? You said it's a Boston.
It's a Boston cream cake. So I think it's like a Boston cream
I've
pie.
never had one in my entire
Me
life,
neither.
and this is amazing that I'm having it now at Jungle Gyms
It's
of
a
all
nice-
places.
We're gonna see how this. They were like, all right, slide the plastic. Okay, here it is. I see it now. There's
It's a little plastic
shield.
cover.
Yeah, I guess to hold. I think.
Is it gonna ooze out?
I think it might a little bit. I'm trying to make sure it happens in the most polite way possible. Right, I see the thing is taped on this side, so let me get that going.
Okay.
This is going to be embarrassing. The whole show is me just trying unsuccessfully to open a cake.
I love how this wasn't pre-planned. Like this is all.
I thought it was
set.
going to be so
This is
easier.
all-
Here we go. Okay. Well, I'm always like,
it tears apart.
Yeah,
You
so
don't
I
have to
think we
slide
should
it
be able
up.
to have to, yeah, I think we
Okay.
should be okay there. Oh my gosh, that's even funny. Here we go. Okay. All right, so it's not oozing as bad as I thought. it was
No,
going
just
to.
spin it around. It looks almost like a Twinkie with chocolate on top.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's probably not inaccurate. Look at this. Now I got like a delicious belt later.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Let's
We'll look that on off camera.
Oh yeah, off camera. I'm doing it on camera. Jungle Gyms After Dark. All right. Everything here provided by Jungle Gyms, including the knife we bought in cookwares this morning.
Amazing.
All right.
Everybody's so nice here too. I was out in the parking lot asking like how to get in here.
Yeah.
And the car guy was like, "Oh, I'll walk you in." And like, I was like, "Oh, you don't have to walk me in. It's right through the door." Like they're so kind.
He's a great dude. So funny story. If it's the main guy, I think actually let me grab your plate here.
Okay.
If it's the main guy, I think it was, that should be Joey. And Joey, I lovingly refer to as the Lot Lord. Come on now, baby. And a big reason why is that we just always I was like, this guy's commanding the fleet. He's out here in the lot. I can't believe how well that came out.
I know, it was a perfect slice.
It's kind of amazing. Here you go.
Tell you work at Jungle Gyms.
Yeah, right. He's like, it has nothing to do with that. It's just like you eat a lot of cake. Anyway, so Joey, great kid. And we kept up with this thing. And around this time, we had a guy on the show named Zamir Gata. Zamir's cool. Okay. And you might know him if you were an Anthony Bourdain fan, because he was one of Bourdain's travel partners. He was on the show all the time. Awesome. So Zamir comes on, and his co-guests are like, "Hey, listen, we just bought him lordship, so we want to bestow him as Lord Zamir on the show." I was like, "Tell me more about this, because I have a kid here called the Lot Lord." Yeah. So they give me all the information, and the long and short of it is, you can buy a small plot of land in like Scotland, and they were running a deal around this time. So I was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna give him a plot of land." I ended up getting Joey. I think it's like a 9x9 plot of land in Scotland, and then presented him with a lordship. So now he's literally the Lot Lord.
I love that.
I thought that was so funny. Yeah.
It's like he's been knighted.
Yeah, seriously. It's like the Jungle Gyms version of knighting. It cost me like $40. It's much cheaper than I hear it normally.
Yeah.
Let's dive in. Let's see how this is.
Awesome.
It's going to be funny if it's bad.
First, Boston cream. I'm trying to get like all levels of it in.
Smart. Ooh.
Okay. What's the cream in the middle?
That's pretty good, right?
It is. What's the cream in the middle?
I'm not sure. I think it's I think traditionally it is like a custard cream. I had one of the newer employees, so I didn't want to ask her too many questions. I was like, tell me more. And she's like, well, it's chocolate, it's cream and cake. I was like, any other details? She's like, I'm learning. I was like, no problem. I'll come back.
Okay, yeah. It's fantastic.
It is like real. You know, we carry so many bakeries, and I thought this would be fun because I was like, let's try out something that we make. You know, we make a bunch of the stuff in house. I know some of it gets brought in too, but this one just looks so good. And it hit when that's why I was asking. I was like, what flavors do you like? And I was like, great, chocolate. I can work with that.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Heck yes. Oh, damn, that is good. Well, and so for those watching along, they'll know this, but my plan, I'll tell you now, I'm going to have the opening of the show is I'm going to try to make a cake with the bakery.
Really?
And I am no artist, Jason. It's going to be bad. So that's why we're eating a good cake and not whatever monstrosity I just...
I can see that.
I've always wanted...
What's your favorite area in the store to go to since you've been working here?
Good question. I think the Japan aisle.
Really?
In general, it's like that. Right now, actually, I'm a drink guy. Like, I think...
I'm a snack person. I've started lifting in this last year.
Yeah.
And I'm only drinking lots of water.
Cool, that's good.
So, but I do love snacks still.
They've been giving me a hard time all the time lately because I'm like, by 11 o'clock, usually I'm like 90 ounces of water in. And then I'm like, great, I've had enough water. Now I can have something else. And I'm like in the bathroom every hour. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, it's really bad.
I know, right? It takes time.
Well, dude, it's like, how many times can I burn through this? How many times can I burn through this tank, right?
Right.
And then having all the drinks. So back in Asia, we opened a whole aisle of Asian beverages. And all kinds of stuff. So every day I feel like I find a whole new product I've never heard of. And I'm like, let's try it. So like the other day, I had one that was called Sparkling VLT.
Okay.
And it's pretty much like honestly like a sparkling, what do they call it? Arnold Palmer. So like a little lemon forward tea flavor.
Right.
A little sweet. I was like, oh shit, that's kind of great.
In a can?
Yeah, in a can.
Okay.
It was great too.
Carbonated?
Yep.
Okay.
It hit for me, dude. I'm like,
really?
I am all, I'll go over there, and what'll happen 9 out of 10 times, I'm just thinking like, what might look cool on TikTok?
Right.
And then I'll go get them. I'll bring them back in here, and then I'm just ripping through drinks and going like, oh, this one's great. You know, I'm obsessed with this one product Coke makes. I feel like they should be sponsoring me how often I make it.
Right.
But they make it for Germany. It's called Mezzo Mix.
Okay.
And it's pretty much Coke with orange in it. But it's European, right? So it's
like
real
orange flavor or like orange juice?
I think it's orange juice personally.
Wow.
It's not super clear, but it's at the very least, it's like whenever you try like a European version of a fruit thing, and you're like, oh, they use real fruit in this instead of like ice pop flavoring. Do you know what I mean? Like you would in the States.
American. I was gonna say American. Yeah.
You're like, it's not grape, it's purple.
Cheap way Americans do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And so it has that like fresh orange taste in it, and I'm like, every time dude. It's so great. We were drinking it yesterday in here. I should have brought. I'll go have to guess one before you leave.
Awesome.
It's so good. But yeah. So anyway, I'm always ripping through the drinks. I'm trying to. I have the problem where if I have snacks, I will eat them. So like I try to keep all of the samples on that table and give them to everyone else. I'm like, whenever someone comes in, I'm like, please eat these, because if I'm left to my own devices, I'm gonna eat them all, right? And there's all kinds of delicious. I think right over there, bag of Dick's potato chips.
I know. I took a picture of that earlier.
You should take some of them with you. They're pretty good. We love it. And that way you can tell people to eat a bag of Dicks, and it's like totally legit.
I've been saying this for years, but finally I could actually be nice about it.
Now you can get a brand deal
refreshing.
out of it.
Right.
Do you have a favorite part of the store?
You know what? I'm gonna have to say I just like the chips aisles. And all the non-American chips.
Yes, please. So good.
That's my favorite part of the store. Yeah. And then also, I do like the seafood area.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I think Jungle Gyms has like the freshest seafood.
It's crazy.
Like me and my girlfriend come up here from times, and we'll buy the seafood from here.
So
it's
cool.
the best place to buy seafood.
I agree. I'm always surprised. I've learned what's funny about this place is how I think I said this maybe recently, but it's like everyone here is and I mean this in a very nice way, as I'm one of the people I'll talk about. Right. But we're all like weirdos about the thing we do.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if you have a question about that product, whoever runs that department will know more than you wanted to know. Do you know
guys
what I mean?
are enthusiasts on food.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
Enthusiast is the theme of the
It really is. Yeah, exactly. The whole
really
episode.
Is.
I'm going to put it for enthusiasts.
Food to music to entertainment. All
so
things.
True.
Yeah,
well, we were talking with, I call him Cheese Tim now, but it was like when one of our guests was like, oh, so is he like a cheese sommelier? I'm like, yeah, kind of, you know? Yeah. And so then every time you have those people, you're like, hey, listen, I have a question about whatever. And they're like, oh, well, in 1971, the Lay's Corporation, you know what I mean? You're like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, the international chips go crazy. There's a
That's right,
really
yeah.
good one, and I give it a hard time all the time because it's labeled as numb and spicy, but it's not very spicy at all. It's like spiced, but not spicy. But it's in the Asian Lay's area.
Spicy but not hot.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And then
There's a difference.
yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
it was like one of those where you're like eating it, and I was like, oh, I could like give this to normies. And I was
Okay.
sitting there thinking, I'm like, this, especially when it comes to Asian spicing, you're usually like, all right, their
Yeah.
5 is our 10.
It
kind
can
of a
get
thing.
very, very hot. I agree.
Yeah, and then this is
Indian
like a
food,
1.
too, sometimes.
Oh, for sure, dude.
Oh, my
I kind of
God.
love it though. That's like when I could eat Indian food all day, every day, and just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bury me in korma sauce. And
I've only had Indian food a couple times.
Really?
But I do want to indulge more.
Well, maybe that'll be a thing we'll do off air one of these days. Or the next time you
like
come in, we'll just do a feast that way. We can run through
love
all
it.
those. On the snack end, you should swing through India and try.
Okay.
There's some snack mixes over there. In my experience, they're all good.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you don't like the general flavors of India, but like you see.
No, I'm very adventurous with my taste.
I love that.
But yeah, that's why I love this place because of that mostly.
It's so cool, dude, and that's like the.
Sometimes I've been here before and bought things I didn't know what they were and just taken them home and just ended up liking them. Just because you can read a couple of ingredients, you're like, that should work.
Right. Yeah. And if not, you'll find. I tell everyone, I'm like, take the bite. On the sandy beach that is your life, that bite is 1 grain. If you hate it, you know what I mean. You'll forget
Exactly.
about it, and
True.
then if you love it, well, then you can build.
You found a
bigger-
new friend.
Right. I'm building a sandcastle. You know?
All right.
Oh my gosh! So next time we got to do that. We got to like run a whole lengthy menu. We'll just pick a couple departments and we'll just try some more stuff too.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I actually, funny enough, I think off camera I have some of my favorite chips. I'll make you try today.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be awesome too.
Great.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I'm trying to think. Any fun events coming up through Oasis or anything like that? Are you guys doing anything like that?
Well, it's near the holidays, so our holiday music's going to start on
Okay.
Thanksgiving. So we're preparing for that. And then, yeah, we're just getting people used to checking out our new station in Cincinnati on 97.7.
That's cool.
And then still continue to listen to us on 106.7. For UK fans, we play UK football games and basketball games. We do that on a 106.7 side, so keep everybody in Kentucky in tune
Sweet.
with them throughout the season.
Love that.
And then, yeah, we're adding more new songs. We just added 2,000 new songs to our
Oh my gosh,
playlist.
that's crazy.
So it's been a lot of work, but yeah, people are gonna really enjoy that.
Yeah,
And the feedback so far has been really, really good. Like,
Because you're kind of hitting that like yacht rock kind of vibe, right?
yeah. Anybody who's like in your mid 30s and up, this is just all music we've all grown up with
Sure.
and lived with our whole life.
I love it.
And it just makes it's great. Like I'm a big fan, especially it's like this perfect station for me to be to at my age now. And like where I've started in radio, like I think I started in alternative rock for 10 years and a talk show for a couple years and working on iHeart now, like working here at the Oasis has been like just dream come true. It's been amazing. Yeah.
It's so cool. Dude, and I was telling everybody off air, and I'll say it again here too, but like, it's fun to run into people like yourself, like that I've crossed paths with so many times.
Yeah,
in my career,
like this
and just
generation,
watching you killing it, dude.
Dude,
forever.
honestly, I want to say for you too. Like
Aw.
it's been really amazing watching you, like being a comedian.
Trying to at least.
No, being very good at it, and just like watching. That's been like one of the best parts of like honestly just working in entertainment in the tri-state, which I can't believe I've worked in entertainment in the tri-state for 20 plus years. I never thought that would ever happen to someone like me. But just being able to meet the people I've worked with throughout in bands, booking, radio stations,
Yeah.
it's been some of the most creative, interesting people that I like kind of a little bit jealous of. I meet like, and also just like admire. And you're definitely one of those people.
Thanks,
just
Jay.
because like I think it takes so much bravery to really get on stage and perform in front of people and like show a side of yourself and express a side of yourself to people that not many people do, but many people criticize.
Right.
And it's like, well, could you actually do it? And just having the to do it, it's amazing to me. I take my hat off to anybody in Tri-State who's doing it. People like yourself and people that I've met. They're just the most genuine people. Like it keeps me wanting to do whatever I do and the little bits that I do. But
That's so cool.
if booking or whatever like helped any of them out or you out, like
It did.
amazing. I'm happy that your talent was able to be shown in front of your friends and everything.
Thank you.
and
Yeah.
everybody.
Some
So
of my
it was
favorite
worth it.
memories were on stages you booked me for, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Thank you.
It's one of those things I think about. I'll go long story here. I met Tom Petty when I was a kid, like a
Right.
young kid. I was like 12, 13, and he was a jerk. And I've hated him forever because of it. I was like, oh, your music's too shitty to be this not nice to me.
Right.
Do you have a good one? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you out.
No, I was just saying that's honestly why I've never wanted to meet like the major artists because
Yeah.
I've never wanted to exactly what you said. I never wanted the image of them to be different than
Yeah.
what I want the image of them to be.
We were at like a whole. I'll just tell you. It was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony. So
Oh,
like
wow.
I was like the only not. I'm like 12, 13 years old. I'm
Right.
like one of the only not famous people there. So it was like a great. It was one of those moments I was like, I could have been someone that writes your checks, kid, and like
Right.
that could have totally. And obviously, I wasn't. You know, kind of a fluke being
Yeah.
there. And I always thought about in that moment because I was like old enough to know that I wanted to be David Letterman, right?
Okay.
And so, but I was like old enough to know whatever. And I remember thinking in that moment where I was like, no matter what I do, I have to accept that those moments will always occur if I get successful, and that I never wanted to, like, who I show is who I am. Like, I just was like, there's no point in me creating this disconnect because all that's ever going to do one day is ruin someone else's life. And I hated how bad that made me feel because I was like
Right.
really into music at the time. I was like, holy shit, Tom Petty, this is crazy. And he was a dick. I was like, oh, good luck the rest of your life, buddy. You know,
Right.
and I'm sure he had a fine life until he didn't. But, no, I was thinking about that. So anyway, I'm really happy to hear you say things like that because it's like you're exposing a part of yourself all the time on
Yeah.
stage, on the shows, on any of this stuff. And you know how YouTube comments are. Most of them are not friendly.
Right.
You know, but it's cool. But the people who are friendly are the best, you know?
Definitely.
So, yeah, thanks for the appreciation. It takes all of us to do this, dude, because if you hadn't given me opportunities, I don't know that I would have the confidence to have kept playing music the way I was doing or to try any of these other things that I thought I was good at, right? Because you, like, as a creative, you need a
Yeah.
little validation.
Definitely.
Just to be like, okay, so the thing I'm doing is connecting with at least one person. You know
Right.
what I mean? So,
Yeah, I
Thank
agree.
you.
No, awesome. You have the talent, so it's great. That was the first thing when I first started booking. I remember, like I told you, I made friends with a couple local bands,
Yeah.
and I was just doing gigs in different venues across the city because of the radio station, and just meeting owners and stuff, and talking to bands and going to their shows. And I was just like, I noticed at your shows, like, you guys are great. You have a great audience, but then you'll play with someone who's not that great and didn't bring as much effort as you did. And so nobody came. I was like, why don't you just play shows with other great bands that work as hard as you do and sound as great as you do? And it was like, because we don't book our own shows.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I've met these people. Maybe I could put something together. And I did, and it just, what you've expressed to me, other people have expressed to me.
I'm sure.
And honestly, like, I don't believe in legacy or anything in the city, but I've been in radio for 20 plus years. I think the only legacy I will leave behind is I actually made some people happy because they got to express their art of their work that they've been doing in a pleasant environment. And I think when you do that and you have a right environment to do it in, it just makes it all worth it. It's just like I love radio, and thank goodness right out of college I was able to work at 97.3, and I've been in radio for 20 plus years where I've been able to be at a radio station, which I never in life thought I would ever be at. Like,
Sure.
I grew up watching Martin Lawrence on TV, and he was the first black person I'd ever seen like work at a radio station. And that was when the thought came in my head, like, wow, I could be on the radio one day.
Oh,
And I was like, nah, no way that could ever happen. And then 10 years later, I graduated college, and I go to 97.3, and I'm on the radio. And I'm
so
just
cool.
like, I can't believe this happened.
Yeah.
Like, and you just try to keep going every day to where you're like, okay, it's sometimes somebody's going to tell me to stop doing this and get a real job. and
This is the
it
real
just
job,
hasn't
dude.
happened yet.
Yeah.
And like,
it's because you're great at what you do. And
Yeah.
you inspire us to do great things too. Like I said, it's like a cool ecosystem.
yeah,
you know?
it's a blessing. I think we just all keep giving to each other, honestly.
That's so funny you brought up Martin. I was thinking about this recently because I somewhat recently watched the reunion they did on HBO or whatever
Yeah,
it was.
I have not watched it yet, and I want to watch
It's
it
great.
so bad.
It really is great. And I've always loved Martin anyway, and the
Mm-hmm.
show's good. And I didn't think about this until I watched, they were replaying clips because I'm sure it's syndicated somewhere, but I haven't watched it since like the late 90s, early 2000s. But it's funny to me. Oh, well, I'm going back about how important the representation was to you, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy to me how much of like the public's vernacular and other little things we stole from that show. Like I think about how many little sayings and stuff. There were so many little things that I was
my
like,
gosh.
I mean, even just the damn Gina, you know what I mean? Which I was like, I still hear people, older people, but I still hear people.
That's the thing. I've
sometimes.
always thought that about people. Like when you watch people joke, and you could tell around how old somebody is by their delivery of how they tell jokes. Like my brother is a little bit older than me,
Yeah.
and I've noticed whenever he's like trying to be funny, he kind of sounds like Eddie Murphy a little bit.
That's hilarious.
And I'm like, oh, and I went back and watched Eddie Murphy stand because I'm a big fan of comedy.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, this is why he sounds like this. Eddie Murphy was popular during this time. And whenever I say stuff, I feel like I mimic so many people that I'm such an admirer of people who are funny,
Yeah.
people who are good at what they do. Where like honestly, I feel like a good thing of like being in entertainment or whatever is stealing 10% of somebody you think is very entertaining.
Yeah.
And injecting it into yourself and displaying that the way you would display it.
Oh, beautifully said. And, I think about that. So when this is so silly, but when like Greta Van Fleet started popping off a few years back, right?
Yeah.
I was not a fan, but not really a fan either.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept joking. I was like, I called it algorithm rock, okay?
Right.
Because I was like, to someone who's not a music enthusiast, they'd probably just be like, this is another Led Zeppelin song to hit the playlist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they might look back and be like, oh, it's not. And so... Well, I don't want to sound like I'm trashing them,
Okay.
but I think they help me make my point, which is that I agree with you. All of my favorite artists, and something I've always tried to do, is take little parts of the people who inspired you and blend them into something that is kind of unique, or at least
That's
that
how
I
it
think
grows.
is unique. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it grows.
And I think a lot of times, and I think maybe this ties back to our passive music listening now, right? Whereas I do see more groups doing the what if we were Guns N' Roses, or what if we were this band, just rather than being like, I loved Guns N' Roses and what they did here inspired me to create this new thing, versus like, listen, if I get a red bandana and a leather jacket, I'm kind of hitting the marks here a little bit. And so long as I do a little snake, we'll call it the serpent. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I love that so much. I think those are the true artists that like shine long term, I think.
Definitely.
Too. In all spaces, comedy, everything. Because if you're a fan of any of these things, you're just taking it in all the time.
Yeah.
And then it's like, how does that shift my perspective? And then how can I share that with a group of people? I love hearing this.
Yeah, it's like I was explaining to our music director at the station.
Yeah.
Jay Snyder. He was we were having a conversation. We were talking about Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think Dave Chappelle's the greatest example of that. I was like, all the great, like I said, I've studied comedian Don Rickles to
Oh yeah.
just so many great comedians over the years. I was like, if you take pieces of them, you can see pieces of them all in Dave Chappelle. That's why Dave Chappelle, like I was saying about my brother, he's kind of our comedian.
Right.
We're like, because
That's a great
he
point.
does have little bits and pieces of so many great comedians.
Yeah.
But he's turned it into exactly what he is.
Right.
He's not an imitation of them.
Exactly.
He's influenced by them. And it just,
beautiful.
it brings everything together.
Oh my gosh. It's like making
Just
a
like
little
this,
goulash,
bring
baby.
everything together.
See,
I had the book here,
exactly.
and now we're here
Full
on
circle
your
eating
show,
cake, baby.
on your show, eating cake from our Boston cream cake. For
Yeah,
my
it was,
first
honestly,
time.
it was pretty good. I was like, I didn't know if that's how I would start my morning normally, but you know what? Going forward, I will.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like,
It's
Jason, we have
fantastic.
cake. We have cake.
It's
at 10:30
fantastic.
today.
Yeah, this is what I would usually do in the mornings. Like, I don't want to tell
I'm
people.
sorry to ruin it. No, I was like, oh God, he's lifting weights and he's doing water. I was like, here, can I feed you sugar today? So thank you for cheating for me. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a birthday weekend.
Yeah, I figured you have to. Do you have any other fun plans for the weekend?
I'm gonna go to dinner with some friends tomorrow night.
Sweet.
And just kind of enjoy being. I have to do another podcast.
Cool.
And then I'm gonna enjoy being by myself.
It sounds perfect. Yeah.
and watching some football.
Get that in. Awesome. Oh,
Yeah.
man. Jason, first off, seriously, I can't thank you enough for everything you've done for me over the years, and obviously that you're still doing for me here at Oasis and all that stuff. So thank you for rebroadcasting the show. And, of course, thanks for coming in, too. I'm glad we got to hang out a little bit.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And this is great.
We should
Everything
catch some
here. I
comedy
love
together
this.
sometime.
Please.
Okay, I'll just start calling you anytime I have
Dude, the
tickets.
Commonwealth, have you been there yet?
So funny enough, one of my last guests was this guy, Gianmarco Cerezi, that just came in. And so I went to the show there. I'd only been for the first time like a week before to see Todd
I've
Barry.
gone twice. That's
It's
a great spot.
Yeah.
Ain't it? Oh my
Yeah.
God, the acoustics are amazing.
It's
in
so
that
amazing.
place.
Lighting great. The whole vibe is great.
is.
Nathan that runs it is a great dude.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Sean Braley decently. And he's great too,
Yeah.
unless he's secretly not. No, but I really love going there. They take great care of me, and I'm sure everyone else too.
Yeah.
And I get a little hyped because I know we were talking before the show. We've got the THC soda thing happening at Jungle
Yes.
Gyms. But now it's starting to branch out into venues. And I'm like, yeah, they should have been selling weed at comedy shows for 40 years.
Duh. The future's amazing, isn't it?
It really
Thank
is.
goodness we can knock all these stereotypes out.
Yeah, I know. Dude, I was talking about that with someone recently. I was like, it's crazy how short the timeline was between you're buying weed in a parking lot at the sketchiest gas station you can think of to now I'm buying it from like the Apple store type of environment.
Exactly.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Trying to explain that to young people I know, I'm like, listen, this used to be like kind of threatening. And now it's like, yeah, you just walk in and you give them your credit card. Like,
I know,
I
right?
used to have to put cash in an empty Marlboro Reds box, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
Don't let all your secrets out.
I know, right? Exactly. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm still paying that way at the dispensary. Actually, old habits are hard to break. Oh God.
Sir, you just give me your credit card.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, it's like that. I was like, do you take Apple Pay? I don't have it, but I'm just asking. You know? That's so good. Oh my God. Well, again, truly, all kidding aside, thanks so much, dude. Looking
Awesome,
forward to
man.
hanging out again too, and thanks for everything you do for us.
Dude, thank you.
You're so welcome.
What a great episode. Jason, thank you so much for doing everything you have for me in most of my entertainment career and everything you're doing for us now here at Jungle Gyms on Oasis FM. Make sure you tune in on Sundays to the Oasis. If you haven't caught this week's episode of the Jungle Gyms podcast, I make a special version for them that's slightly different than what you get here. Kind of cool, right? Well, on that, I actually think I want to go finish that cake. So again, download the Jungle Gyms app. Let's get some savings going. I got some great tips coming up for you next week on I almost said Halloween leftovers, Thanksgiving leftovers. It's going to be great. One of my favorite people coming into town to do that episode with me. We got all kinds of fun stuff on the way. So in the meantime, I'll see you out there in the aisles.
The Jungle Gyms podcast is recorded in the WJJI studio inside Jungle Gyms International Market in Fairfield, Ohio. The Jungle Gyms podcast is produced and hosted by Mark Borison.